It is the 10th of August 2024, and of course it is a Saturday. You know, Saturdays are for diplomatic affairs and of course other things. My name is Harriet Nartey. Once again, I welcome you to the only show that serves as a window when it comes to issues pertaining to diplomacy, international relations, foreign policy of countries, and of course exchanges between Ghana and its development partners. This is your go-to platform. I'm happy to be your host as we bring you all the issues happening on today's show. I will take a break. When I come back, we have our stories ready, and of course we also have some guests joining us on today's show. We are going to get very interactive on one of the topics that will be discussed on today's show. I'll take a break. When I come back, I will introduce my guests to you. Welcome back. The show is Diplomatic Affairs. As I mentioned earlier, we have a couple of stories lined up just to bring you up to speed when it comes to issues happening in the world of diplomacy and international relations. So let's start from home, shall we? I'm going to bring you the Gulf of Guinea Commission Summit, which took place right here in Accra. How many of you actually heard about this summit? And of course, if you did, are you really interested to know what the Gulf of Guinea Commission is all about? Or did you really follow to know some of the issues that were of concern to them when they met right here in Accra? So I'll bring you that story, and of course we will also be touching a bit on the riots in the UK and its implications. Of course, some people have called it terrorism, and we would like to briefly browse this particular issue that is currently ongoing in the United Kingdom. So we will touch a little bit when it comes to migration and everything. And of course, the third story, which I'm very particular and excited about, is the Model Commonwealth Summit, which I had the opportunity to speak at this event alongside other distinguished speakers. And I'm excited that we will be delving more into this particular subject. I have the organizers of this particular platform here with me in the studio. And like I said, I will introduce them, but I would like to run you through the stories, or maybe just let me just go straight ahead and you know, get them to be at ease with me in the studio. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How are we?
Yes,
we're doing well.
fine, thank you.
Welcome to Diplomatic Affairs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so let me begin with the lady. I have with me Roxanne Odro. Is that the right name?
Yes.
Roxanne Odro is an official of the Model Commonwealth Summit. Welcome once again, Roxanne.
Thank you, Ms. Nartey. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you in my home. And also, let me acknowledge Martin Seniabua, who is the Executive Director of the Model Commonwealth Summit. Hello, sir. Good to have you on Diplomatic Affairs. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Are we ready for our discussion today?
Yes, true.
All right. Yeah. So great. Now I'm going to move on to my first story. Like I mentioned, I'm going to take you to the Gulf of Guinea Commission's meeting here in Accra when they met to discuss some issues that they are faced with. So member states of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, GGC, have reaffirmed their commitment to further deepen collaborations to ensure peace, security, and sustainable development of the region to the benefits of its people. The commitment was made during the 6th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of States and Governments of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, which took place right here in Accra, as mentioned earlier. And the theme was building a safe, secure, and prosperous Gulf of Guinea region for sustainable development. A statement read on behalf of President Akufo-Addo, the current chair of the Gulf of Guinea Commission, reiterated the need for member states to strengthen their collaborations and cooperation because because of the interconnectivity of maritime activities that necessitate working together to build a safe, secure, and prosperous region. Right. Now, I'm sure you listened to me when I was reading what really transpired, the lead to the entire event that happened here in Ghana. Yes. If you are someone who follows the Gulf of Guinea Commission, you would know that there are a number of countries making up of this commission. I think we have Angola is one of the countries, yes. And is it Nigeria,
Gabon, Angola.
Right. So I think Ghana is also part of it, which is why the events actually took place here in the country. So there are about 19 countries making up of the Gulf of Guinea Commission. What do you make when it comes to, because the region has its own problems, just like all other regions. You know, when it comes to the sub-region, we have our own challenges that we are faced with as a sub-region, right? And then when it comes to the continental level, which is the African Union, we also have our challenges that we are faced with. And it's the same everywhere. Actually, no country is devoid of challenges. Am I right? So I am very much concerned about the interest. How many young people actually paid attention? And I like the smile on your face. How many? Let me start with Martinson. Martinson, did you really pay attention to this event?
So just because our summit ended and then we saw the setup for the Gulf of Guinea summit, and I think throughout the week I happened to pass through the conference center, so I also saw the police presence at the event, but of course I didn't enter to know what really is going on there. But it holds great significance to see we have our government coming together to look at the issues that affect the blue economy, the connections that would have to, be enabled as we look at how best that they can cooperate together as countries, and to be able to look at the development that we can have along the Gulf that we are all part of here. Yeah.
Well, the safer the region is, the better for all of us as a continent. Roxanne, do you think as a young person who belongs to a very vibrant and recognizable platform like the Model Commonwealth Summit, do you think young people have shown interest when it comes to issues pertaining to the continent and even the region?
Yes, definitely. Young people have definitely shown a lot of interest in issues that are affecting our country and the regions as a whole, the sub-region, and even with the Gulf of Guinea, because these are issues that concern us, because they say the future is for the youth, right?
Right.
The Commonwealth's theme for last year was the year of the youth, and definitely because of the interest that the youth has shown, they decided to extend it further to 2024. We are growing, and it's our time. We need to be more involved in these issues, because with countries all over the world becoming a global community and information being readily accessible, it's very important to know what is going on, to familiarize yourself. Otherwise, you get left behind. And the youth has shown that they don't want to be left behind. It's their time, and they want to be more involved in everything that is going on, because they are the leaders of the future. So definitely they are more involved, they are more involved and
interested in
what is going on
in this area. All right. Well, that's interesting to know. But when you talk about the youth, I want to believe it's just a handful, perhaps, of the youth that belongs, on the same platform. They are on the same platform as you. So when you talk about the youth, I am looking at beyond your platform, whether generally we have seen the African youth, because I'm looking at cross exchanges between African countries. When it comes to social media, for instance, we should be making friends in other regions so we can be sharing information. And also when it comes to policy, we should be looking at the common policy at the continental level. So when I talk about that, I am actually not talking about where, you know, your community, as in that little community that you have built, who are, you know, very much interested because they have no other choice other than to be abreast of issues due to where they find themselves. But at that level, are we there? Are we there? Do we see that? Because I think that where I sit, I don't really see much happening in terms of exchanges when it comes to information and building of the continent.
I think you'll be very surprised. You'll be very surprised. It happens on a more informal level, and it doesn't happen on the news as you would normally see. What do we see on the news? The more trending things that are happening. But then on a more informal and a more quiet level, these things are happening. And something that we're going to talk about later on is something that's, I mean, I'm sure happened as a result of informal connections and informal conversations. So these things are building up. They may not be there yet, but then I have noticed it's
the growing interest.
You'll be so surprised. You could be in your corner and you think that people are unaware of things that are happening, but then when you come out and when you listen to people's stories, you would understand that people are aware. The youth ranges from 18 to 35. And a lot of the times when there are opportunities like scholarship opportunities, you'd find the age range being limited to, let's say, maybe 18 to 25. And so it's like, what about the rest? But then I happened to be at an event where there was a good representation of the youth from 18 to 35. I saw people who looked older than 35, but then I was glad because if the youth has been defined, the age range has been defined as 18 to 35, then definitely 35-year-olds and below should be represented, should show their faces.
All right.
Yeah, well, I think that in as much as there's that growing interest, you know, concerning intergovernmental, you know, associations or organizations, this particular one, the Gulf of Guinea Commission, I'm not sure there's so much emphasis, you know, put for young people to show interest, or of course to build interest in that aspect of it, except for probably those going to regional maritime universities or they're having courses related to the blue economy. That's when we get to learn, or they get to learn something about it. But also a clarion call to our leaders to make sure that subsequent summits like this, they are able to invite youth representation so that they are able to pick it up from there, the discussions and the policies, and they can take it to their respective groupings and to look at how best they can be part of the solutions that we
Absolutely, I agree. Right, so the Gulf of Guinea Commission took place right here in Accra, and we've just been talking about the event in entirety and also the awareness when it comes to the African continent and, you know, how the youth actually react or whether they are even interested when it comes to some of these issues pertaining to their lives. So we wanted to touch on this just to ensure that truly we have a number of, you know, the African youth who are following keenly when it comes to current affairs on the African continent. And I think, like they rightly put it, the growing interest is there, and we've seen a number of youth, you know, who have really expressed interest in some of these things. But we want to see more. The engagements should go, you know, it should get to that scale, like a bigger scale, where we would actually meet and discuss and debate some of these issues that we are faced with as a continent. I'm going to take a break, a very short break, and then when I come back, we will continue with the rest of the stories.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the James Bond scene, as it were, with all the ambassadors sipping champagne and seeming to do nothing else but dine and sip champagne at receptions. That is not true. That is a misconception of the time and the nature of the work.
Diplomacy is not devoid of accountability.
Everything that matters in Africa matters to Europe as well, be it demography, be it economy, be it security, be it culture.
Can somebody tell me where Ghana is found in Africa? Is it west? Is it south? Is it north? Is it east Africa? Which one? Any idea? Any idea?
It's like on the west.
It's like, this is what? I don't get
To the south. Never mind. It's to the west. It's to the west.
Okay. South American ambassadors represented.
I'm transforming the UN and making the UN more fit for business for Ghana is the prime objective that I have here.
You are one outstanding journalist, broadcast journalist, who has put diplomatic tourism and, diplomatic relations under one spotlight.
I have been watching diplomatic affairs, and I've waited unabatedly for my opportunity to come here as I watched my colleague, the EU, last week.
This is Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nartey. Welcome back. The show is still Diplomatic Affairs. We've had to take a brief commercial so we can attend to some technical hitches. You know how it is when it comes to live shows. All the same, the show continues. So now, next on my lineup is the riots in the UK and its implications on migration. This is a very interesting topic that we would like to pay attention to, also because I have representatives of the Model Commonwealth Summit here with me, and of course I do know that when it comes to the Commonwealth, it is the United Kingdom that is actually leading the Commonwealth. So it is in order that we touch on this particular incident. A very sad issue. So the July 29 killing of 3 young girls in a knife attack on a Taylor Swift themed dance and yoga workshop in the northern English town of Southport shocked the United Kingdom. Information spread on social media indicating that the attacker, identified as Axel Rudabukabana, was a radical Muslim immigrant. This led to anti-immigrant protests breaking out in various towns and cities across the UK, with properties being vandalized. The protesters also attacked the hotel said to be housing asylum seekers. This incident has brought to light deeper social crisis in the United Kingdom. Also, in the midst of these ongoing riots, it has been revealed that the attacker is a legal immigrant who was born in the UK and whose parents had immigrated from Rwanda legally. Now, the UK, under the leadership of Keir Starmer, has cancelled the agreement of sending asylum seekers to Rwanda, and I'm sure we have a bite supporting this particular story.
It is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. Be in no doubt, those that have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. If you target people because of the colour of their skin or their faith, then that is far right, and I'm prepared to say so.
A very sad incident which happened in the United Kingdom on the 29th of July. Very, very sad incident. Now, I have personally taken the time to read articles coming from this incident and videos where people have expressed, their anger and disappointment at what happened on the 29th of July. And one of the videos that I watched, it's a very brief, short video, was a young lady who was given a background, like a very summarized background of how the UK came into being as a country. And it was very interesting to know that the UK was built on the backs of migrants. And for that matter, I think her concern was the fact that history had been erased or sort of like buried, and people do not really know their history when it comes to the country, the United Kingdom. And for me, when I realized that we're going to have you on the show today, I was just thinking about the connection between the Commonwealth, as a multilateral organization with, I think, over 50 countries, 56 to be precise.
Yes,
and of course, what this really does to the relations between these countries, So it's a very, very, very sad incident. But going forward, how do we address the issue of misinformation and disinformation? These are things that countries and governments are actually fighting so hard, to do away with, but it just wouldn't go away. Is this one of the prices that we've had to pay for social media?
I guess so. Social media does have its advantages and disadvantages, and I believe that as it progresses, or as AI, artificial intelligence,
the new kid on the block.
Yes, the new kid on the block, as it's called. As we go deeper and deeper into technology, there are more cracks show, and it's possible for anyone to do anything on the internet. So these days, deep fake videos are coming up, and we could be here, we could be talking about the UK riots, we could be saying something positive, we could have a call to action for our leaders, but then someone would create a different version of it and put it out there and say that this is what we said. It's something contrary to what we said. So we are paying for social media, but then in another sense, we could use it to our benefits. It could be positive. It could be positive. The only thing is that we need to do our due diligence. We need to do our due diligence and be educated. Educated, as we keep saying, is not just in the classroom. It's not just in the classroom. Anywhere you go, you need to. And it's very sad because not everyone has the patience or the time because of background to do due diligence or say, oh, let me be sensitive about this because I need to pay attention to other people's backgrounds. I need to be sensitive to other people's religions or their practices. But it's going to take us some time to get there.
Interesting. Mr. Yeboah, again, what does this really do when it comes to the way the United Kingdom is positioned? It is one of the superpower countries, like serving as policing the world, if I can put it that way.
And
one would expect that they would have, they would have led by example for others to follow. But this particular issue just won't go away, given the fact that we all know one of the issues that the UK is faced with is, immigration, and which some politicians have actually used to score political points. And one of such politicians will be Rishi Sunak, when he even went ahead to actually introduce a policy that would see asylum seekers sent to Rwanda, and even went ahead to seal this deal with Rwanda where monies were exchanged for the agreement to take place. Unfortunately, when things changed and then Keir Starmer had to come in, his also view about the issue and how it should be handled is totally different. And he has decided to use a different approach. This is like a test for his government. How do we deal with this incident?
Well, I think when it comes to issues that are social in nature and build interest. You have most of the politicians use that to their advantage. But even before this, the Brexit and co, part of the immigration discussions were included in that kind of the negotiations that the political groups were advancing. And of course, at this stage that we have a new government taking over, I'm sure we are going to see more of their policies that they intend to roll out on immigration and how best they want that to be addressed. I think it's gotten to the point where government or indigenes of particular countries would want to protect their heritage, and so they always want to do everything within their capacity to ensure that their indigenes are properly, centered in the country in respect of how they move about in their region. But then, of course, it comes to how best you are also able to open up with people who are also coming to the country, and how best that you are able to address their issues. I think taking it on the scale of wanting just one group of people to be known as, let's say, England, and then another group to be known as this, it will not always be the case. But we would rather have to ensure that you open up the space and ensure more people are included in the day-to-day or the development aspiration of the country than to be very straight on that. And so anytime immigration comes by, you are going to have different perspective on it. And whenever policies are also enacted, definitely when a change of government comes, you are always going to have it being changed. So it will never become a static matter for us to say we have dealt with it once and for all, but it will keep changing as we have different, political groups take over government.
Well, I've had different views from people who have said that this is as a result of the economic crisis the UK is faced with right now. I think, was it a few days ago, I was in a conversation with a group of people and I said it appears there's a global recession right now, because it isn't just the United Kingdom as a country that is affected when it comes to, the economy isn't doing so well as it is right now, and that they've had to introduce some new policies to see how best they can, solve the issue. But is this really about the economic crisis of the UK, or this has always been, racism has been one of the things, that just won't go away when it comes to some of these things that we are seeing right now? And, this is terrorism.
Yeah. Yes, so you see, with this particular story, we can glean about 3 or 4, interest from it. Those who are looking at it as a point of economic difficulty, and so why don't we drive people who are not from this country to their own country, and then we can look for job opportunities available to us. Others are also looking at it on the basis of terrorism, because the accused person was put on social media to having to come to UK a year ago and was involved in this particular incident. So there are different perspectives on this particular matter, but then what the politicians are those who set the agenda. So if they say there is that economic aspect to it, obviously they get the figures to that effect, and then make it a point of national conversation. But of course, irrespective of how we would just want to look at it, once the issue comes up and we're able to enact good policies, we should be able to address it once and for all.
All right. Okay. So, well, let's see how the coming days go with when it comes to this particular issue, because the United Kingdom of all countries shouldn't be seen after all that they've been through as a country, and one that is very much looked up to, shouldn't really be here right now as we speak. So we are hoping that as soon as possible the government would, look at how best to resolve this issue. Well, let's see how that goes. We'll be following, and of course we'll be bringing you, developments on this particular issue, because it borders on all of us. I mean, as a global community, it isn't just the United Kingdom that is affected when it comes to some of these issues. Even when it comes to the multilateral level, it's a serious problem that must be dealt with. So we will continue to follow developments and bring you all the updates right here. All right, now to our final topic for today, which seems to be the making headlines on my all the stories put together. We are here to talk about Model Commonwealth Summit, Model Commonwealth Summit. And so the Model Commonwealth Summit is a simulated conference that replicates the format and discussions that actually that are led by the Commonwealth. And of course, we know that Commonwealth heads of governments meeting and ministerial summits usually handles issues that are affected by Commonwealth countries. So the summit provides participants with an opportunity to engage in a diplomatic way, such as negotiations, addressing global issues, and of course, propose solutions to some of these issues that they are faced with. This year's summit was themed One Resilient Common Future. One Resilient Common Future, and it's afforded participants the platform to learn from industry players in navigating their way in this particular area. Let's take a look. I'm just going to take you back, and then when we come back, we'll catch up with everything that took place earlier.
When you go anywhere, I don't want you to leave without making a mark. Don't be forgotten. You can never be forgotten. Because if you place your footsteps anywhere and you go and nobody actually feels your presence, first and foremost, you were never there. That menko. Don't go. Be deliberate. It is what other countries are doing, and they have done that we haven't been successful at doing.
Today, the world is at our fingertips. We know that. So it means that whatever you are looking for is even closer to you than you ever thought. It's the ability to research, the ability to read that has become a problem for many of us. The only difference between you and your colleagues in the classroom is the extra things that you know that they do not know. So the extra relationships that you have built over the years, the networks. So some of you are here today. Others are your mates. They did not come here. The opportunities that you have here, they will never have them in life. That is the difference. So please, read, research, search about opportunities that you are looking for. Work on them.
When you talk about money, it's only cash. Talk about capital. Integrity is capital. Or it's money. Your integrity. Somebody can watch the way you do things in the area and decide that I'm going to give you money to start business. And what did the person leverage? Your integrity. Right? That's why as a young person growing, you have to build on your integrity. We are here, we're having conversations. Some of us are going to take like numbers of people, and after 1, 2, 3 months, you say, oh, please, can you buy credit for me? The last time you said you're going to France, please, can you buy me perfume? People do that. I'm just saying. You see? So that's not what people want sometimes from you. Everybody who wants to be a leader must be a follower. Right? So spend time serving people. Let the person find you valuable.
Africa, we are less developed. A lot of our jobs elsewhere, machines are doing it, robots are doing it. So with the advancement of AI, unemployment, if the diplomats don't protect the citizens, a lot of unemployment will happen, because then people, their jobs will be substituted by AI or robots, and so they are left. Now the question becomes, how do we integrate AI into our labor force such that AI doesn't replace human beings, but it rather helps them to become more efficient? It's not a replacement of the human being, but upgrading the skills, the ability of the human being. And it takes diplomats to think about this. And then at international conferences, make sure that we protect the interests.
Okay, so you're still watching Diplomatic Affairs, and that was a recap of what happened, was it last week? Last week, Thursday and Friday. Thursday and Friday, right? So on the second day of the program, I had the opportunity to serve as a speaker, and it was a very it was very refreshing to share my 2 cents over the years, you know, acquired on the job with you and of course your peers. It was very, very insightful, and it was such an experience for me as well. I took a lot of lessons from you, and I gave, you know, those that I had also acquired over the years with you. So it was very nice to share knowledge both ways. Now, let's talk about, when you talk about, I see you wearing your Model Commonwealth Summit t-shirts, you know, projecting what you stand for and what you do as young people. And it's always inspiring to see young people, you know, loving the idea of replicating some of these platforms, because Ghana is a part of this platform, you know. Yes. So it's important when we see young people, a group of young people modeling some of these international organizations. But one question that I have mischievously I want to ask is, why not model African Union?
There is.
There is?
Yes.
Educate me.
But there's even ECOWAS.
There's Model ECOWAS.
Model
Yes,
ECOWAS. So there is Model EU.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then you have Model UN.
But I know of Model UN
Yes.
because, again, I had the opportunity to speak on that platform in the Central Region, Cape Coast University, so I know about that. And it was quite a discovery for me to also learn about Model Commonwealth Summit. All right, so now educate me, what really do you want to achieve with this platform?
Okay, yes, I think Martin will be the best person to answer that question.
There are two, you know, aspects of this Model Commonwealth Summit. So in 2012, at Rwanda, where heads of government met, they recognized 2023 as a year of youth. That is to celebrate the 50th anniversary of a youth program that the Commonwealth has put together. And it's also the 10th anniversary of the Commonwealth Youth Council. So in putting a spotlight on the youth for 2023, that is when they put up the interest for youth groups, you know, youth organizations to put up their bids to come up with events that the Commonwealth will celebrate, will award them, and to be able to highlight their talent in that regard. But then also, the Model Commonwealth Summit wanted to, or is to put a spotlight on the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, in that whatever happens at the heads of government, just like we were even talking about the Blue Gulf of Guinea Commission Summit, not so much of the discussions that goes on there that young people know about.
Exactly.
So we really wanted to put that spotlight on the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, so we get to learn about it, because there's a whole lot of diplomacy that is going on there, the whole lot of negotiations and policy discussions that only a limited number of young people have the opportunity to learn about it. So the summit is to put up that kind of spotlight on the Commonwealth, so that as we go through the simulations and all of that, we are able to learn about the Commonwealth. We are able to, you know, expose the opportunities that are available in the Commonwealth to them, and to be able to also navigate their interest as they look at opportunities within the international arena. So that's what the Model Commonwealth is.
All right, so primarily that is what it is, right?
Yeah,
That's what you stand to actually put out there when it comes to Model Commonwealth Summit. Now, my question, I'm happy you talked about the need for young people to follow events on the continent and issues, because you mentioned that there's a lot of diplomacy happening in this area that not a lot of young people really get the opportunity to learn about. Now, from you, when I talk about young people, I'm a young person myself. Do you doubt that?
No, we don't doubt that at all.
When I talk about young people and creating opportunities and setting them up for the future, tomorrow, I look at some of these platforms that you have introduced to empower young people. Information, they say, is very liberating. So if you have information, there's so much you can do with information. I want to ask, how long has this been replicated? How long have you been running?
So this is the first of its kind.
Oh, so that was the maiden one you just had, the summit.
Yeah,
That was the maiden one. Congratulations. That was very impressive, though.
you.
That was very impressive. So how does this actually empower young people for tomorrow in terms of leadership at the international level, where we want to see more Ghanaians, you know, representing Ghana and of course the rest of the world at the global level? You know, and I'm asking this because Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Shirley Ayokoboche, is actually vying for the position of the Commonwealth's Secretary Generalship. So she's been doing a lot, working assiduously to ensure that she gets this, you know, position. How does this, once we've had the opportunity to start at a very early age to prepare the youth for such opportunities, how does this actually really change anything?
Okay. So it's really great that our Foreign Affairs Minister is going for this position. I believe that we look up to our older ones. We stand on the shoulders of giants, isn't it? The people who go before us. And when people are exposed to these things, it makes them feel empowered and it makes them feel that, yes, I can do this too. Especially if you inspire them, especially if you come from a positive perspective, a positive point of view, because we have leaders and some leaders do not inspire you to want to become a politician, become a head of anything, because of how they portray themselves, because of how they carry themselves, because of how they
just don't bring anything to the table. They're occupying space.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I'm glad you mentioned that you were a part of the summit, because I was so inspired by what you said. The whole room was quiet when you spoke. Everyone, my peers, paid rapt attention to you and to all the other speakers who were there, because you, I don't say you bring something, Harriet, it was amazing. And when I got back to my committee, I led a committee, and when I got back, we discussed the events, and the young ladies who were in my committee said that when they went back, they were going to do more. And one thing that stuck with me from everything you said was to make a difference, not to leave a room or a space without leaving an indelible mark. And that is something I repeated to them. So seeing you, seeing women, other leaders, men who take pride in what they do, who make the job look enjoyable, it's what propels young people to aspire to be more. It gives them the confidence. It gives them everything they need. And information, as you said, is liberating. So with this information that you've given them, definitely they'll be inspired to do more.
Wow, I have chills. Okay. I hardly get chills on my body. So, but I mean, once again, kudos to you for organizing such a successful event. I would want us to talk about, when we talk about, I also made an observation. I realized that it wasn't just limited to Ghanaians. Because a young man approached me, a few of them approached me, and they came from elsewhere, like South Africa and Zimbabwe and Gabon. You know, they approached me after I was done with my, you know, with my presentation. And when I realized that, oh, so this actually goes beyond the shores of our country, it's even was more refreshing, because when we talk about the world, which has become a global community, a global village, as we call it. Now let's zoom into Africa, also becoming a small community, for that matter. And we are no more talking about empowering Ghanaian youth. We are talking about empowering the African youth, because we want to see Africans also occupying very significant positions. Really, will this really make a difference when we talk about tomorrow? I mean, today we are here. We see what is happening when it comes to today. You know, everything is at play right before our eyes. A lot of youth are actually complaining about African leadership. I don't want to say African leaders, but African leadership, the way we are leading, the way people who have been put in certain places and are supposed to actually make an impact when it comes to serving the people, end up serving themselves. Really, will this change anything going forward?
Yes, particularly for Model Commonwealth Summit, because I say this with all confidence in the sense that discussions that ensued right from your presentation, the opening ceremony, the committee breakout session, the issues they discussed are all put together and shared with the Commonwealth Secretariat. So it means that their perspectives are going to be looked into by the Commonwealth to look at how these young persons are thinking, whether they are from Ghana or from any other African country. In fact, because it's the first time, we are now having to learn about how possible we are able to bring all the 56, countries to the next summit that we'll be able to do. That will be
exciting.
Yes, so that's one thing that we are going to work so much hard to get it done. So one is that the ideas are definitely going to be imparted by the kind of policy considerations that the Commonwealth will come up with. But secondly is the fact that it's also going to help build that kind of connections right, amongst young people, because they are in 5 years, 6 years, and some are even in that position currently, occupying in positions currently that definitely they will pick up certain roles in the future. And so once you build the connections right at this stage, you are able to sustain it. You definitely will be useful at the point where you need most of these connections that you build at this particular platform. So yes, it gives a lot of inspirations, especially for those who came from outside Ghana. They were inspired by especially our third-day events that we had by going to the Nkrumah Museum, some of them having to learn about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and the kind of, interest it built in them, adding on to the value that they have acquired from the first and second day. And the testimonies we received so far it's kind of, great, such that I'm sure we cannot wait to do the second part of it.
Well, we can't wait to do the second one together. But when you talked about policy consideration, at the end of the event, does anything, reports and, does this really change anything at the helm of affairs? I mean, I don't know if I'm articulating my thoughts very well. Does this really change anything at the top?
So we get this over and over as we do model conferences. So some of the participants will ask, what will the resolutions that you pass do and all of that. But I'm happy to state that for a few of the delegates who were part of the discussions at the committee levels will be present at Samoa, which the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting will be having in October to present the resolutions that they have gathered from the summit that we held. And so we have about 3 of the delegates will be able to be present in this particular Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that will be held in Samoa. So it tells that it is not just going to be right after the summit, we just go back to our homes. We are pursuing the policy consideration, the ideas that they have brought together. And I'm sure going forward, we would definitely be able to have a slot at the table of the Youth Council, Commonwealth Youth Council, and even at the Commonwealth Secretariat in respect of any other ideas, any other issues that young people would have to be part in designing the future that they want to be part of. So definitely we'll get there in respect of the strong position that the Model Commonwealth Summit will want to find itself on the policy table.
Well, it is also worth noting or sharing that the deputy head of the British High Commission here was present at your event. And it's for me, what it means is acceptance, recognition, and how seriously they actually take this platform that you have introduced. How does that actually impact, especially you, the people who are at the top, taking information, sharing it to the people, you know, who are down. How impactful was that? Because I was so happy when I learned that, you know, the UK actually represented. Yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It's a big deal. I mean, as you said, acceptance and recognition, because then it means that what we are doing is not just being recognized amongst our peers, just us, but then our leaders are seeing it, and the UK is definitely interested. The Commonwealth is definitely interested in what we are doing, and they're definitely hearing our voices, and they definitely want to get involved in what we are doing and guide us in the process.
Right.
And it means they're also taking the theme Year of Youth seriously. So it did have a big impact, and I'm sure next year is going to be bigger and
better.
Yes.
Bigger and better. And of course, talking of bigger and better, let me also use this opportunity to once again share the good news. It is now official. I'm sure you might have seen our billboards all over town, right? Yeah, all over the city we have our billboards. And of course, we are talking about the first of its kind. It is the Diplomatic Honors event. Diplomatic Awards, but we prefer to call it Diplomatic Honors, and it is the first of its kind, and we are doing this in partnership or with the support of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. The Office of the President, of course, has also endorsed it. The Diaspora Affairs Office has also endorsed it. The Council on Foreign Relations has also endorsed this. The European Union here in Ghana, the United Nations, these are organizations that we have been working with them for some time now, so they have been highly supportive. So the word is out, the message is out, the news is out, and we are getting ready for Saturday, September 14th at the Accra International Conference Center, where we will be hosting the first ever Diplomatic Honors, and it's going to be a night of celebrating excellence in diplomacy and international relations. These are individuals who have over the years served and contributed massively in shaping Ghana's foreign policy, and of course Ghana's participation at the global level when it comes to exchanges even between countries, and also at the multilateral level. We have quite a number of Ghanaians who are out there, and they are making a lot of they are making us proud, and we are watching. So this will serve as a watchdog and also recognize hard work and people who are making the right decisions and choices for the Ghanaian people, the sub-region, at the continental level, and of course, even at the global level. It is not limited to only diplomats, traditional diplomats. We have some ambassadors like Boris Kujo is in there, who will be receiving an award. We have, of course, one of the names that everyone can actually relate to is Kofi Annan, who also will be receiving an award. We have Mude Maya, and so it is huge. And if you want to be part of this, let's make history together, please. We will be sharing the numbers in our subsequent episodes. We'll share the numbers on our platform. If you find our numbers on the billboards as well, you can also call and find out how you can be part of this particular event, which is happening on Saturday, 14th September. So once again, I would like to use the opportunity to say a big thank you to the entire team for driving agenda to where we are today. It's been a lot of work, sleepless nights, strategizing, and we are not even done. We haven't even started yet, but we are pleased to announce this event, which will be happening for the first time here in Ghana, bringing the entire world to the center of diplomacy. That is the Accra International Conference Center. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on this note, we are drawing the curtain on today's show. So, final words.
Well, on behalf of the organizing team, we would like to, first of all, thank the Commonwealth Secretariat for giving us that opportunity to host a Year of Youth event. And then coming down to Ghana, we've got a lot of support from the Foreign Affairs, Commonwealth Back Office, the Multilateral Division, as well as the British High Commission, the British Council. We also got support from the Commonwealth Investment and Council. we got support from the European Union. Who were also present at the summit. And in fact, all young people, the youth groups that were present at our event, we so much appreciate their effort, and we hope to build that kind of partnership. And of course, you also, our experts, guest speakers, and
they were amazing.
Yes,
all of them were amazing.
Amazing. But it is rather from the delegates who are saying thank you the most. Even far
so
more
thank
than
you to my co-panelists as well. They were very inspiring. I learned a lot from them also. Well, thank you to you also for always looking forward to this show where we bring you current affairs, trending issues, all the updates when it comes to diplomacy and international relations, diplomatic affairs right here on Pan-African Television, just so you know what is happening. It is always super to have you wait and see us on your screens, or even take the time to go on social media, YouTube and Facebook, to search for us and learn more about what's happening from this quarters. We appreciate your time very much, and thank you very much to Mr. Martin Seniabwa, the Executive Director for Model Commonwealth Summit. Thank you so much for coming, and also a big thank you to Roxanne Odru, an official of the Model Commonwealth Summit. Thank you so much for making the time to join us on today's episode. My name is Harriet Nartey, and thank you to the crew. Without you, of course, this couldn't have been possible. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.
It's also a little bit of a cliche. I mean, we're all used to the James Bond scene, as it were, with all the ambassadors sipping champagne and seeming to do nothing else but dine and sip champagne at receptions. That is not true. That is a misconception of the time and the nature of the work.
Diplomacy is not devoid of accountability.
Everything that matters in Africa matters to Europe as well. Be it demography, be it economy, be it security, be it culture.